Okay, so this is the October 30th, 2020, November Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee meeting. I'm going to go through the roll. I know we're missing some members that are going to join us later, so I'll just call out the names. Dennis.
Here. Here.
Jean Fody. Jean might not actually be able to. Jean's here. Michelle Marinelli.
Here.
Matthew Yetto.
Here.
Kevin Walsh.
Here.
Isma Alam.
I'm here.
Dart Strayer.
Here.
And Clark Henry.
Here.
And Josh, is that you on the line?
Yes, it is.
Okay. See, I'm recognizing the star 7 now. Star 17.
Yes.
Okay. So until our chair joins us, he asked me to be the chair or to run the meeting for now. So our first action item is the minutes for September 4th, 2020. Can anybody make a motion?
I'll move we adopt the minutes from the September 4th meeting.
I second that.
Does anybody have any corrections or comments?
No.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, guys. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll adopt those minutes. And then the second set of minutes we have is for October 2nd, 2020. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Thanks, Dennis. And then do we have, that's the one we have corrections on, right, Kevin?
Yeah, just one minor comment, just a typo. On page 2, it's paragraph 5A on the 10:22 minutes. It's the second, strike the second to get things started with, just a repeat, just to clean it up. Very simple. Otherwise, everything else looks great.
Okay. Did anybody else have any comments? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, Dennis. Any opposed? Okay, so we'll carry those minutes with that one correction on page 2. The next item I have on here is the status of board and committee virtual meetings. So at the last town board meeting, Yasmin announced that everybody except for the town board would continue their virtual meetings until further announced. And I know at the planning board, we had kind of a lengthy discussion on it. As long as the governor continues to extend the allowance for the virtual meetings, my thought is that we just sort of say that or at least try and plan for virtual meetings until, at least January 1st, 2021. I don't foresee, unless you guys have some other idea, I don't foresee a need that we need to meet in person for planning board and zoning board and CAC, November and December. I know I know people like to get together, but it's complicated with the number of people that can be in the boardroom. And it's not like our COVID cases are going down right now. So I just feel like I'm okay kind of just, game planning it to at least through November and December of this year that we just continue to meet virtually.
I agree. I'm 9,000 yesterday. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we talked about that at planning board through December too, right, Kevin? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, I think we just said, in general, it seems like we got it down. It's pretty smooth. So, why
Mess around with it if we don't have to.
It'll make it easier for everybody at town hall, I'm sure. So.
Okay. So that's the general status of that, I think. Unless I hear otherwise, I'm going to plan virtual at least till January 2021. The resolutions that I have, we have 2 November meetings, so I separated them out to November 5th and November 19th. The resolution to make a secret determination on improvements to Aqueduct Park, I didn't attach those into your packet because they were attached last month. And, we scrolled through them and talked about it and looked at them. The only reason we weren't able to do that in October is because the CAC's the CAC meeting fell right on the day that we lost all that power on the big storm. And so we weren't able to have a quorum to take a vote on that secret determination. So we have to move that. I did talk to the developer of Rivers Ledge, and they asked if it's possible to put it on November 5th because the secret determination is required to submit the Canal Corps permit. And, there's a time lag with the Canal Corps permit too. And so they would like to get in there and start working on the park this season, like late fall, early winter, so that they can get stuff down, which is kind of what we're doing with River Road Park. And then potentially it starts growing and looks nice in the spring rather than a mucky, muddy mess. So as long as everybody's okay with it, I would like to have that resolution on November 5th. And then, did you have a comment, Dart? No? Okay. A resolution calling for a public hearing on November 19th for a special use permit at 2207-2209 Knott Street. This is the former barber shop. This is in your packet. Starts on page 13, is a description of the restaurant. So Monday through Thursday, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., Fridays, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And so this would be a restaurant, and because of COVID, I think they're talking about having a takeout window. It's not a drive-through window. It's just a place where, I know a lot of restaurants did this during COVID, where there's kind of like a window to the outside. The Hungry Chicken did it in Rotterdam. It worked really well. So you can go up to the window and pay for it and pick up your food without ever going inside. It's sort of like a touch-free place where you can pick up your restaurant food. And then, he's, planning to have, the inside set up for tables and a bar, with the limited capacity stuff that the state has, put into effect right now. And, hoping that at some point it'll be back to normal again and he'll be able to have the whole restaurant open. So I can share my screen really quick if you guys, he's not making any big changes to the building here. There's this was originally 2 tenants, so this was a barbershop and this was a barbershop. It might have been 2 barbershops. Correct me if I'm wrong, Clark. And then, but they would combine the spaces so you can have an entrance on Knott Street, which is over here, and an entrance on Clifton Crescent Park over here with connection. There's a bit of a grade difference, so you have to have 3 stairs. And so he's not making any external changes to the site, with paving or any of that kind of thing. It's just an internal tenant change because it requires a special use permit. That is typically, a difficult process, and the town board meets only once a month usually. So we try to, if we can, get things moving for them because it's such a long process. So my thought was that we could call for a public hearing on November 5th, so that it could be held at the end of November rather than the end of December. If we hold it at the end of December, we're putting, potential action on this project all the way into January. So that was my idea. Did anybody have any comments on that?
Heard any feedback from anybody or any town board members received any feedback for the application?
I have not. I did hear, we did have the one, concern from Via Del Mar, but the owner, operator, person that's proposing it has been making, he lives in the neighborhood, and he's been making a concerted effort to go door to door to the people directly across the street, to anybody, who wants to listen to him, to talk to them about what the restaurant is, what his plans are for it. And I think the last time I talked to him, he had collected 60 signatures in support.
Great.
Okay. Then the other resolution authorizing a supplemental services to Burton and Judas for upgrades to the Aqueduct Park via the Canal Corps and the Mohawk River Watersheds Grant. I think we talked about this at the last meeting too. I just forgot to put it on the town board meeting. It's $5,500, and that's basically because COVID delayed the initial installation of this project by about 2 to 3 months. And then they also had an issue with the fabrication of the stiff arms for the docks. And so they're not going to be able to put the docks in this fall. And so we're going to need the engineers to come back in the spring and finalize the installation and finalize the grant. So we have to extend the contract with Pollard and have that engineering oversight management that continues into the spring. That was a $200,000 project, so $5,500. I'm not going to break the bank on that project. We talked about it before. Okay, so then November 19th, this is just tentative based on, what we hear for the restaurant, special use permit, but theoretically we would hold the public hearing on November 19th. And then, this is what I'm saying, as long as there's not a lot of controversy and people are on board with it, because it's essentially a simple tenant change, then they could potentially take action on the special use permit. And then the other one I have on here, which is kind of a biggie, is the resolution awarding a contract for the Upper Union Streetscape improvements. And that would be, we've currently got the Upper Union Streetscape improvements out to bid. It's essentially a very ornate, safe, high visibility crosswalk between St. Cattery and Brookdale homes on Upper Union Street. I guess there was a fatality there a while ago, and it's kind of like the Niskayuna entrance into the Upper Union Street district, which goes between us and Schenectady. And so it's like a nice raised island in the turn lane where people can cross one lane and stay safe in the raised island and then get to the other side. And it has, I think it has flashing beacons, and it has sitting areas and benches that are modeled after City of Schenectady's Upper Union Street on the two sides of that crosswalk, along with replacement of sidewalk in the area. So those bids should be coming in, I think, in like a week. And I sent Michelle, I sent you the bid opening, so I'm going to remember that one. So, and hopefully as long as everything comes in, in good order, the construction on that wouldn't be until 2021. So it's not a huge rush. But if all goes well, we would be able to award that contract at the end of the month. Any questions on any of those? Okay, so planning board.
Laura?
Oh, yeah.
Laura, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So about the River Road Park, the 5,005, that needs to be a budget mod, right?
Aqueduct Park?
Aqueduct Park, sorry, yes.
I don't know. The Aqueduct Park it's a combination of grants that I've got up there. It's Canal Corps and Mohawk Watersheds grants. And I think a fair amount of Parkland money is going to supplement those two grants into that. So as long as there's, still enough in the Parkland, yeah, when we get to finalizing all the payments on that, it's probably going to be a budget mod. But that, in order to bump that up, that 5,500 to bump it up so that they can come back in the spring. I don't know if you need the budget mod yet.
Okay, so what is Parkland money? I'm sorry, I'm asking these questions. What is Parkland money?
So Parkland money is when the town of Niskayuna and planning board is reviewing developments. The developer is required to set aside Parkland for each, proposal that goes before the planning board. But sometimes there isn't really a good place for Parkland, or, the town feels like there's already enough Parkland around. So they require the developer to pay a certain number of fee for each lot that they're creating. That's what a little bit that we were looking at the planning fees. So in R1, it's like $1,500 a lot.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So that rolls into the Parkland, and then the town, is required, I think, bound by our code to then spend that Parkland money on improvements to parks. It has a very specific function that it's supposed to serve. And I think about a year ago, we were looking at this project. It was hopefully going to be 120,000, I think, but it ended up being about 200,000. And we had a discussion on if we wanted to move forward with it or not, and decided at that point that we did want to do it holistically, and probably the best place to take out that difference would be from Parkland.
Okay. New term, thank you.
Yep. Sorry, I lost my. Okay, so the next thing we wanted to talk about is the Celts average density development. Quickly, I'll share my screen again. This is the most recent plan, was attached in your packet. It shows pretty much everything that you guys have seen before. You know, we combined this so that the wetlands weren't taking over a whole lot, and you can fit the 2 single-family homes here. You've got the cul-de-sac, you've got a berm to protect these homes from River Road, all that stuff. The big change on this one is obviously the bike path and taking the asphalt out of the existing stub to make this kind of more of a parkland and really beautify this entrance over to Blatnick Park. Clark had sent a bunch of comments back to him just to clarify, make sure that everybody knows this is a 12-foot wide bike path. We did a lot of research on what was needed for emergency access and also what made a lot of sense if you have a high volume bike path. And so we decided to go with 12 feet. I think we decided on a removable bollard that would be up during the summer and then probably taken out in the winter because you don't have as much kind of like attractiveness to people driving down the bike path. Hopefully in the winter, we'll just keep an eye on it. And then some of the things that, we had changed was I think that the bike path was then going to 10 feet as it wrapped around the Celts Farm Road. But Clark and I were saying if it makes sense for it to be 12 feet here because it's a high volume traffic, pedestrian traffic and bicycle, we expect that that's going to bring a lot of bikes and pedestrians, that you probably want to continue the 12 feet at least down to here. It doesn't look like he did that actually. He still got it at 10 feet. But if we're thinking that it's high volume, like we were thinking like just to make that this is consistent through the subdivision and to get people across the road to Blatnick Park. So those are just the kind of, I don't really think that the footprints of the homes are going to change in any way too much over, the course of the review, but he's doing the engineering subdivision and he's got, stormwater areas and SWIPs and stuff that he started to work on. And when we looked at this, we wanted to make sure that we were removing the least amount of trees as possible because there's a lot of really big, beautiful oak trees in here. And I think that we were able to site it so that it doesn't impact the wetlands, so that we keep as much of this, open space over here as we can. And we really only have to take down one large oak tree. And that large oak tree, for whatever reason, when it was growing up, it has all of the branches leaning on what it's leaning, and all the branches are on the side that it leans, and the bike path would be right underneath it. So I think that I hate to see any tree go down, but it probably wouldn't be safe. And, when you start disturbing the roots and stuff, a tree is pretty much going to fall where the weight and the lean is. So that one's going to come out, but it's just one oak tree and the rest is just scrub. So did anybody want to comment in addition on that?
Yeah, Laura, I have a question. At one point we talked about basically smoothing out the turn, the 90-degree turn when the bike path hits Celts Farm.
Yeah, we talked about that here, right?
Right, correct.
Yeah. I think that because it was an emergency access, they didn't want to put another bend in it. And also, he needs this area for stormwater.
Yeah, that's fine. I knew there was probably a reason for that, yeah.
And Laura, can you hear me? This
Yeah.
is Clark. This is relatively new information, but Joel is lobbying to just have the 12-foot wide area be the emergency access from Windsor down to the Celts Farm Road, and then be, I think, 10 feet where it passes in front of the homes.
So I'm sure he wants to do that because it saves more of the home yard, right? So it's 2 feet of grass that the people can enjoy in their front yard versus a wider bike path. And Kevin, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, or Dart, because you're on the Complete Streets Committee, but.
Yeah, well, my thoughts, I'm flexible, but, it just seems like, the purpose is, it's busy, like you said, from a multi-use path, so hence the 12 feet. But it's also serving the request of the emergency access, especially the fire chief's request. So once we get down in front of the homes, I mean, you want it to also look good. And I know you showed a chart some time ago about designs of multi-use paths, and and I think you stated that 10-foot, is also a reasonable number. So so I'm okay either way. I'll be honest with you. I think it's just wherever direction the board goes. But it might look nicer in front of those homes, and emergency vehicle or emergency access. If you come down and there's that grass mat or strong grass pad, it takes you right into the road, so you're all set once you get to that point for emergency access. So I'm flexible either way.
Hey, Laura, I have a question on that.
Sure.
The existing bike path, how wide is that in front of the homes on Windsor?
It's actually 8 feet, which
Oh, it's 8 feet? Okay.
surprises me because you can't actually build one for less than 10 feet now. I don't know how it was built 8 feet. It wasn't that long ago that it was paved.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective is this is probably going to be a popular bike path or multi-use path, but 10 feet, whatever the board, I agree with Kevin, whatever the board decides. I mean, I don't know if the 2 feet are going to make a big difference or not.
Okay, I mean, because we were saying that if you look at the guidance on bike paths, like the high traffic bike paths, they like to see 12 feet.
Yeah.
And so if we have 12 feet and then we neck it down to 10 feet and there's a lot of use, are we kind of squishing them together?
Yeah.
It's
I think
fun,
the only
but I definitely agree with Kevin. It's going to look nicer in people's yards, and I understand why Joel's asking because it's already taking up a decent amount of, it's not actually in their yards; it's in the right of way. But people, treat that as their yard, so they're already losing, a good portion of their yard.
I think the only consideration that I would have is if it was 10 feet, would people, and I don't know if this is true or not, would people go out onto Celts Farm Road and ride?
On their bicycles?
Yeah.
We might do that anyway. I don't really know.
Yeah, as Laura stated, we do that. People do that anyway, and it's okay for I don't want to say professional bikers, but the people that are into it, it's okay to be on the road, their vehicle. So.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's not okay, Kevin. I'm just saying if you want to keep people on the bike path.
No, I understand. It's safety, right? We just want to make sure the kids stay on the bike path or walkers and so on and so forth, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you would notice the 2-foot difference because it's a 90-degree angle. I mean, if the bike path was a continuous path, you'd probably see it more if you did it that way. But
yeah, that's true too. And because you have that turn, it's probably not too big of a deal. I'm okay with it going down to 10 feet. I just was trying to be consistent throughout the whole subdivision.
I think we'll leave it to the project leads, David and Patrick, to make a recommendation. We'll take it from there.
Okay. The taking out the asphalt on the Windsor Drive stub, I think it helps discourage kind of cars lingering in there, whatever they would do in a dead end, and also allows for us to make it, like I said, more beautiful. So like Joel has talked about, bringing in some of the loop-ins, and we could plant some trees there, which I think would be great. But I do think that we should refer that to the highway committee. I don't think that we need to do a resolution. I just think that it should be like, both the economic development committee because of the planning side and the highway committee because of, the maintenance side should just, formally say, yeah, we're aware that that's in the plan and we're okay with it.
Yeah, I actually think we should remove it because my concern would become a default parking lot for people using the bike path, and you'd have people park there and then take the bike on the road to the bike path. You probably want to discourage that.
Okay. Did anybody else have any comments on that one? Okay, so I'll take that as we're good with it, and then refer it to the highway committee next week. And then the other one that we wanted to talk about was the 2627 Troy Schenectady Road, Shannon Boulevard. These, the kind of the hot button ones. This one has had a lot of comments from the neighbors as well, who, would like to see as much woods and natural area retained along Shannon Boulevard as possible with a subdivision of the Krieger estate there on the corner of Route 7 and Shannon Boulevard. We were trying to have a meeting with them yesterday on site, but we ended up having to cancel it for health reasons. So we're going to try and meet, I think, Monday or Tuesday of next week. Oh, no, we rescheduled it for Thursday at 4 p.m. So we were going to meet this like yesterday at 4:30. Now it's scheduled on November 5th at 4 because we lost an hour of light. And so we just want to, talk about it. They want to kind of flip-flop the LC zone. Kevin and I chatted about this. That's really not an option. The LC zone exists to protect the Leishakill. That's why that zone exists. And there's a pretty steep cliff along the Leishakill. So you definitely want to keep, I think, the natural vegetation and keep the development away from the Leishakill. And we want to try from the Complete Streets Committee to make that connection to the Nature Conservancy, who was very excited about that. And but what we do think we can do is maybe look at where the driveways are going, look at how we can grade to keep as much vegetation along Shannon Boulevard as we possibly can. I think that would be a really good outcome from that meeting. Claire, is there anything else you can think of that we would update on that project?
No, I think that's about it. The next big step is this meeting with the neighbors, for sure.
Yeah, hey, Laura and everyone, Joel keeps mentioning that he wants to, transfer that property, that land to the town, but obviously you're talking to the Nature Conservancy. Do we need to get a letter or something from them saying that they're willing to take it, the Nature Conservancy, in part of the project, so we know where we're going with it?
I can ask them if they were willing to write it. I can bring that project up quickly. I think that it may work better to have it go to the town and then have the town give it to the Nature Conservancy, only because the land is not actually contiguous with the Nature Conservancy land. There's a small section that is town. Let me just pull this up quickly.
Gotcha. So the town would transfer that portion of the property?
So if we were to switch it all to the Nature Conservancy, we would actually have to, and part of that land is actually the park is owned by that park district. You know how the people talk about it.
Where is this? Laura, where is that?
I'm trying to bring it up here. Here it is. Okay.
Kevin, I have a question. What's the advantage of conveying it to the conservancy group?
I think it's because the access to the Leishakill and to their property in the back, and I believe it may be maintenance issue too, right? If the town owns it, maybe the town's got to take care of it. So the extra expense potentially.
So here,
Okay.
Liability.
here's the Nature Conservancy owned land, and here's the town of Niskayuna Park District 9 land, and here's his. And so like it's not contiguous. If we want to make the Nature Conservancy literally own the property from this land all the way down to here, where people could park, I think that probably the town would want to go in separately, and then you have to do a little bit with this park district, I think, and then make this connection up here. Go from being, well, actually, this is not the most recent one, but Bing down to Bing or whatever, so that you have that full consistent path from the Nature Conservancy all the way to Route 7. And they were very interested in developing the trails. I asked them if their preference was to own the new trail from Route 7 all the way to their land, or if they would rather take an easement, and they haven't gotten back to me yet.
Laura, it might help to just explain the blue area that's not water, to explain what the blue area is.
Okay.
Yeah, the blue area is the land conservation zoning that would not be part of the subdivision that would be deeded to the town or to the Nature Conservancy. The Leishakill is down here, down at the bottom of this cliff is the Leishakill, and that is a cliff. Let me tell you.
Laura?
Yeah.
So right now, do you know whether it's on our property tax? It's on tax roll?
It's on our tax roll right now as a single parcel with one single family home on it.
And they want to sell it?
Oops. They want to subdivide it.
And why do you think that the town should take it?
Because it's land conservation zoned area, and it is a good connector into the Nature Conservancy. There's already like a natural parking lot right here, and that's what I'm saying. It's contiguous with the town of Niskayuna's Parkland. I think that if we can get the Nature Conservancy to take it, I agree with Kevin, it's probably better. But we have to, I think if we do that, we have to do the whole entire thing to them. It has a gap right now.
Hey, Laura, just looking at that map, I think you could make an argument that if you skinny up the Land Conservancy existing plot a little bit, you could do a fair swap of parkland and just basically, increase the town's boundary a little bit and just offset the gap.
Wait, say that again?
So just blow up the map where the town, you can see that the blue width is smaller than the the existing parcel that the Nature Conservancy owns. So I think actually if you extend that across, you could just swap the parkland with that corner there. So you wouldn't be selling any parkland, you'd be conserving the acreage of the parkland. It might just be easier to just do a swap.
Basically, Laura, have the Nature Conservancy
Yeah.
give the town a little bit of their property to offset that chunk that the town would be giving the Conservancy to join the blue area to their existing.
Oh, that's a good idea, because then the square footage stays the same in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I'm trying to find the most recent plot plan, Clark. That has the bigger blue.
So what is the fiscal impact of that on the town? Sorry, I'm asking all these questions because I'm trying to grasp the picture here.
Well, does the Nature Conservancy pay taxes? I don't actually know.
I don't think so because they're not for profit. So can you later on? Can I come and see you? Just want the tax ID for that.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, I mean, if it's between the Nature Conservancy not paying taxes on it or the town owning it, it's probably really 6 one, half dozen of the other. But it's not developable land. It's not like we're taking money off of the tax roll. This is a very, very steep slope with old growth trees that you couldn't put single family homes on. And it offers a lot of public benefit. So I don't really know.
Well, I would imagine that after you subdivide it, I mean, basically there's going to be a net tax increase because you're going to have 4 parcels instead of 1.
Okay, that's what it is.
That would be my view on it.
Yeah.
Because I can barely see on my laptop, so I can't tell. Okay.
Okay, so I think that's all we got on that. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to talk about from the planning board? All right. This number may go up a little bit. We only have 2 cases right now for the zoning board in November. The grants update, the River Road Park contract came in. We had a lot of back and forth on what we were actually going to fund. And I think we settled, we did a deductive change order to get the project back down to about the $500,000 that we had the budget for. And so the construction is to start probably Monday. I'm thinking that it may be useful to do a email blast to residents who are used to going into that park just to let them know the construction's starting. So we've got, I think, all those contracts signed and just need to do, some communication on it. Aqueduct Park's got the contract extension, which is attached. We talked about already. The critical pedestrian grant, the Complete Streets did their pedestrian count of Knott Street Wednesday. And I sent it to the engineer. It says attached. I didn't actually attach it. Just quickly, it was Dart, did you take a look at it? I mean, Wednesday was a cold and rainy day.
Yeah, I looked at it.
They still had over 200 pedestrian trips crossing, between Knott Street and Regent. 186 walkers and 14 bicyclers, which probably the bicycles were very discouraged by the weather. But so they think that that's a very low number just because of nature of the day, but I still had over 200 people crossing that intersection there. So the engineer's going to take a look at that data, package it up, and send it over to the county. And then Upper Union Street, we talked about that one, potentially awarded at the end of November for construction in the spring. Any questions on any of those? Okay, Complete Streets is got a meeting right after this meeting. We still need to release the survey to residents, and I apologize for that. Every time I get in there, I get confused by the questions and the software. And a couple people have asked or have said that they would help me. So I just need to like sit down with some people so we can get that out. But then we've got the Complete Streets drive-through event November 7th. I'll just share my screen again really quickly. This is going to be, because we can't do our bike rodeo, we are planning on doing just a demonstration project that people can walk and bike through and then share us feedback. So we have these little bollards and some tires, and we're going to put them between, what's the top of this? Oh yeah, Almeria and Story Ave on Regent. And so we'll have signs saying, and I can show you a sign quickly if you want to see, like, this is a chicane, this is a complete street. Let us know how you feel about it. This is the sign that we're working on here. And so we'll have it up for like a week, have people, driving around on it, telling us what they think. Complete Streets made a survey specific to this event and a QR code so that people can give us their feedback. But the point is, these things kind of go out into the road. They narrow the visual corridor and slow people down. And so we don't have any in the town of Niskayuna. We want to see how people feel about them, because we get a lot of comments that there's a lot of people who are trying to walk and bike in Old Niskayuna, but the traffic sometimes is going too fast. And so, the thought is if you add in these things that visually slow the cars down, it makes it safer for the bike and pedestrian users, and it makes it, a better environment for the shared use of the streets. And then we just wanted to put a temporary crosswalk on Barcelona with some curb extensions to help with that safety. So that should be going up on November 7th, and we'll stay, as long as we can, like probably about a week. Then we'll take it all down and then analyze the feedback from the people. Did anybody have any questions on that? Okay. You guys are so quiet. It's the Laura Robertson show. Okay. Tree Council, just a really quick update. Highway Department planted all the Liberty elms that came. We did get all the fall plantings that we've talked about done. We replaced some on Cornelius, some on the Rexford Traffic Circle, some in Blatnick Park, and all of those were done by the Highway Department, I think, last week. So very much thanks to the Highway Department. The last thing we kind of have on there for the Tree Council is updating the Blatnick Park sign. And I did meet with Ray out there. He does agree that we kind of need a new sign. So Dennis, this one's a little bit for you. He was wondering if we can find pictures of the old sign and see if we can recreate it, because I guess everybody's memory is that sign used to have like Olympic rings on it and stuff, and the new sign seems to be missing stuff. And so he was wondering if we could find pictures of the dedication ceremony, I think I don't know actually when it was, and see if we can get any of the history and come up with a new sign, that's sensitive and good to the memory of Jeff Blatnick, and shows what his accomplishments were, and then do a new sign that recognizes all of that cool stuff.
Who may have some information is the school district, because they have in the Blatnick gym, they actually have like a little display in there, so they may have some information as well if you want like the history on that.
I know there's a fairly substantial file on Blatnick, on the Blatnick Park demonstration down in the files. So look, yeah, I'll take a look and see if there's any good pictures.
Yay! Okay, cool.
I'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. If we can get a good kind of sign package together, we might be able to get that done this year. Okay. And then CAC had I think, pretty successful turnout for our meetings in front of the driving range at Blatnick Park, along River Hill Boulevard and Catherine Woods. So we sent a letter out to people saying we wanted to do a low-mo biodiversity initiative between the driving range and the River Hill Catherine Woods estates there. I know we split the days so that one was a weeknight and one was a weekend, and had a fair number of people stop by. There were some specific concerns, like they wanted the lawn to be mowed between the split rail fence and the road, which is not an issue. They wanted, certain, like the adjacent neighbor wanted a certain section around his home to still be mowed and maintained, which is also obviously not an issue. But overall, I got some positive feedback. I don't know, Dart, how do you feel about that? I think we might narrow the boundaries a little of where we're mowing and kind of finalize the plan and send it over to the highway committee and see if we can start that this spring.
Yeah, no, I thought the comments were good. I think, a lot of the concerns that people had once they realized that we were going to maintain the grass from the road to the split rail fence sort of dissolved. I think people thought that the low mow was going to be right to the street. And the other suggestion that continually came up was to plant wildflowers and make it more look like a natural field. So we're going to consider that as well.
Oh, yeah. I think that was a really good point. We were thinking that, we could concentrate planting wildflowers kind of on the backside of the split rail fence so that as you're rounding that curve, you have, a splash of color up there, which would look nice. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it went well, but the wildflowers was a good idea too. So we just got to finalize that, see if we can get some wildflowers and talk to Kathy about that, and then work on it in the spring. And then the pesticide-free lawn initiative is also going well. Ellen Daviero has been working really hard on finalizing the signs, been working with IT on getting the pledge up on the website, and we are able to make a special web link for it that we can put on the pesticide-free lawn signs. We did want to make one change. During budget meetings, when I was discussing, purchasing these signs, it was noted that, we could just say, consider a donation for the cost of creating the sign and have that on the bottom and see if we could recoup some of the cost of printing the signs. It's not a lot. I think it's like, I can't remember what I said, $1.50 a sign or $2 a sign or something like that. So if people, wanted to sign the pesticide-free pledge and spend, $2 so that it was kind of a zero cost program to the town, I think a lot of people would be totally fine doing that, and that would help offset the cost of the signs to the town. So
yeah, those are adorable. Yeah, those are really cute signs. Yeah. I would love them.
So I'm just going to add a line to the bottom of the pledge, that says, consider paying to offset the cost of production of the signs. And then if anybody wants like 3 or 4 of them, they really should pay for them, because we can't, and you might want more because they're kind of little. So I'm just going to put that little note at the bottom, and then we'll put that up and get that going. So that's almost done and ready to roll out. The Climate Smart Communities Task Force met again last week, and they took a look at what we need to get Climate Smart certified in 2021. And, we've talked a lot about the natural resources inventory. They also felt like if we needed to hone in on one action that could get us to where we needed to be, that it probably made the most sense. And I say attached, but I don't think I actually attached it, but I can share the screen with you, is to do a greenhouse gas inventory for the town of Niskayuna. It's about $5,000. And Josh, who was on the call, if he's still here, did this once before. It's a lot of work, but if we have the base data and we can use that base data to kind of put it into something that we can replicate, then that's a base action, one of the base actions, kind of like a pillar action that you need in order to be certified. And so that's probably the lowest hanging fruit for us to get to 3 priority action items. And so they're hoping that that's their, and they also think that can be completed, relatively quickly because we have all that data. It's just a matter of pulling it all together and putting it into a report. So that was their recommendation from that meeting. Architectural Review Board, this is very detailed because Clark was initially going to go out and meet with the Architectural Review Board over on the corner of Shannon and Route 7, but it had to get canceled for the same issue. So Clark, do you just want to go through these quickly?
Sure, I'll give a really quick update. 2804 Aqueduct Road is a project that the planning board recommended the ARB take a look at with the applicant. They had a very successful first meeting. The applicant was very excited to get input from architectural professionals free of charge, and he's in the process of implementing those suggestions. It will go back for a second review before the ARB approves it and reports back to the planning board. 2627 is a Joel Basilian project out by Shannon Boulevard. He's also interested in working with the ARB to potentially restore the existing home that's on that property. That's what was scheduled for this morning, but will be rescheduled for next week. 2538 River Road is Celts Farm. That's also Joel Basilian, and he's very interested. He's already had one session with the ARB to make sure there's significant variety in the buildings that he's putting up in that Celts Farm project, so they all don't look exactly the same from the street. So he had some very nice plans that he showed the ARB, and there was a nice exchange between the two groups. 2721 Balltown Road is the Aqueduct Animal Hospital. That's another reconfiguration of a building to a 6-unit apartment building. So the ARB will make some suggestions there, all geared towards making that more residential looking in nature, since that's such a residential part of town. And then 2207, 2209, this applicant actually reached out to one of the members on the ARB for some design input. His quote was a little bit too high. So the good outcome of that is now the ARB will have a meeting with this applicant, similar to what was done with 2804 Aqueduct Road, and they'll give some kind of broad brush suggestions that could be implemented. So they're starting to get some good traction going with the ARB, and the more projects we get out there, the more we expect it to pick up. But people have reacted very favorably to the group.
Thanks, Clark. I think you're doing a really good job with that committee. Matt Yetto, if you're listening, when I met with the restaurant owner on site, I asked him about the grease trap. And he's supposed to be coordinating with that with you. Like, they were thinking that they, can do one inside, which should help, and then another one outside somewhere. So
that will depend on what kind of cooking they're going to be doing.
Yeah, he said that so when I was meeting with him, his plumber actually came in, and I was like, listen, we haven't had a restaurant there before. I doubt there's an existing grease trap in this area. So like, just coordinate that with engineering. So maybe, hopefully, this plumber should be reaching out to you.
Okay.
Okay, and then for the building department enforcement, Linda has been working with ISMAT a lot on updating our fees, our mostly building fees, to align with surrounding communities. I know we're also going to try, or we have a little bit, I don't know that we finalized it, try updating our planning fees. Also, they haven't been looked at in some cases for 10 to 15 years. And, so we've got the data on some surrounding communities to make, things relatively aligned, and also aligned with the amount of work that takes to implement some of these permits. And so we've got a whole matrix of the updates to the fees that I think ISMAT is presenting to the town board. And
I already emailed it to them last night.
Okay.
So as part of the budget, we'll find out.
So, and I have that if any of you guys want to look at it. Like a flat fee for a building department right now is $50. I think that we would up it to 65 or 70. Just small changes that, are a reflection of the times. So that's out there. And then the other thing that we had talked about, which it's going to take quite a bit more work, but could be helpful, is considering a vacant home registration code and fee. We took a look at Saratoga and the city of Schenectady, who require vacant homes to register, and they pay an annual registration to the town if they do have, what's defined as a vacant home or a vacant business. And that permit includes, a plan for either maintaining it secure, vacant, with contacts for any problems that's ever occurred to the home or the business during the time that it's vacant, a demolition plan or a rehabilitation plan. So I think the point is that you're kind of poking and prodding any of these owners that have vacant businesses to make it, not so easy for them to just kind of sit on the property and maintain it vacant. I realize that not every property is vacant because, a landowner is just not paying attention. There's sometimes a lot that goes on with it, but if you do it, if you do constantly kind of look at what's going on with the property and have that registration and have that good contact plan, I think it's helpful when they are vacant. So that's something that we would be looking to implement in 2021 if we can. Anybody has any questions?
Laura, do we have any idea how many vacant homes there are in this unit?
Well, it kind of depends on what you define as vacant. Saratoga had a pretty good definition of it, I think. Truly like bank-owned vacant homes where they know that nobody's been living in it, that's allowed to live in it for, more than 30 or 60 days, that are required by New York State to be on a register that New York State maintains. I think we have like 8 to 10. But if you look at people who are in the process, of selling their home, or something happened, or they're in a bank foreclosure, but it's still owned by the person, it's still in the name of the person, which can take a while, then you probably have, like, just guessing, this is, from 20 or 30 homes that are vacant. Could be even higher than that. It's hard to tell. So we would probably target the low-hanging fruit initially would be the banks who are already registering as vacant. So, they are clearly meeting all the criteria. We can get them on, rolling with this new code, and then it'll be harder, but, try and figure out where these other homes are that are potentially in bank foreclosure or blighting their neighborhoods, and see if we can get those guys to register and get them, on this cycle to try and get them turned over so that they become happy homes again.
Right. If you guys can keep an eye on how many vacant commercial buildings are there, because I know of only Walmart, the old Walmart building. So because we want to obviously, hit the commercials more, then we want to do the residential buildings. So let us know, please, if you know of anything else.
Yeah, there's a fair number of vacant commercial spaces in the town of Niskayuna.
Oh, who would know it?
The planning board sees it with tenant change. We don't require tenants to notify us when they stop their business, but a lot of times it's noticeable, when Ruby Tuesdays went out of business.
Right.
there was a press release that they went out of business. Bed Bath & Beyond closed down in Mohawk Commons. EMS went out, so it's kind of obvious, when some of the bigger ones go out. The ones that are a little bit harder to keep track of are the professional business spaces that are small, in ShopRite Plaza. I think we had a insurance company go out and a investment company go in, and what was the square footage on that, Kevin? 1,000 square feet, maybe? I don't know. Those littler ones are harder to keep track of. Okay. And so let's see. Planning department, we and Matt and Josh and Jessica and I have been working on the updated hazard mitigation plan with the county, Schenectady County. Always a big fan of hazard mitigation plans. They are very helpful to us as a town and to our community, surrounding community. So we're taking a look at, I think flooding and increased drought and heat related to climate change. Couple other hazards there that Niskayuna kind of regularly deals with, and getting, definitions of where we're vulnerable and where we, you know, can partner with the county on, you know, help and common, you know, problems that we can all work through together. So they're using a new platform, which is kind of fun. And they have a very aggressive timeline. Mike Stevens has been helping us too from the police department. So that's been great. And we're just working away with them on it. Ace Hardware is opening, well, has a tentative opening date for December 13th. So they've been out there working hard. They do need to come back to the planning board because they want to change the location of the propane tanks. They also have a permit out to install 4 EV charging stations, which typically doesn't require going back to the planning board. The EV charging stations can be put in, but I think that we'll look at the total package at the planning board level because it changes a little bit of where the green space was on the property. And so I did notice that there was a fair number of plants that had been delivered out there. And so hopefully, you know, the owner has a good sense of not, you know, taking it down every single tree and then just making it all stone. Because I think we want to maintain that kind of neighborly neighborhood commercial green lawn look to that building. So that's just something that we're going to look at quickly at the planning board level. But they've been working really hard on the building permits, and they had equipment out there working on widening the road. So there's a lot of good going on that property, and we're hopeful that they'll be able to open on December 13th.
Yeah, it looks like the road will be able to work off of Knott Street East. I took a ride through there a couple of days ago. You know, obviously taking down that overgrowth vegetation, and the road's still got to be repaired, but it looks like it should work okay.
I agree. Yep. And then the JCC sign lighting, I think, you know, the planning board still got the ability to comment, but we switched the lettering to white and the background to black. We severely reduced the illumination at night from 7,000 down to 300. And it looks okay to me. It's not the greatest thing ever, and I don't really want to see it replicated in a lot of situations, but on the unique kind of situation that happened at the JCC, I think that we minimize the impacts by keeping the black background and the white letters and keeping the illumination really, really low. So I didn't know if anybody else had any opinion on that, but we're probably going to finalize something in that range.
Laura, do we need to, the illumination is what seems like it's the key when they backed it off there. Do we need to actually tell them that they can't use the white background? Should we allow them the freedom to use the white, you know, for certain situations sometimes? Or, I mean, I don't want to over control it. Just, I know we can talk about the planning board, but something to think about, you know? It just seems like when they went from 4 lines of information to 3 and they increased the font size, that was a big help. But again, that's their call, right? If they want to.
That's their call. Yeah.
Their call,
we're allowed to comment on white, black versus black background and illumination level. Those are the 2 things that we kind of carved out from the planning board.
If they're willing to do the black and they like it, that's fine too, you know.
I do think that they decided that they do like that better. For whatever reason, and you guys all know, because that sign came through this committee. I mean, we had that sign in the Schaefer room at one point, and then we also had it out as a demonstration outside of town hall. And the installation doesn't seem to be exactly the way that it was presented to us, because we were trying to really mimic the look of a natural, normal backlit changeable letter sign. And I think the white background just does not do that. It just doesn't. So the black background seems to be the compromise that works. Okay, we are almost there. I don't think we have any attorneys on the call today, do we? Any of the attorneys on here? I don't see them. So they just working, I think, still on the Vincenzo deed restrictions. One of them just needs to be corrected so that it's in conformance with the planning board approval. And then I just have enforcement on here because we have some hangnails out there that we're still trying to work with the legal department on. And then, Dennis, do you just want to talk quickly about your site visit to 2627 Troy Road?
Sure. It's took me a while to finally get there, or to get inside the building. Joel finally send me the code, and I was able to get in. Anyway, there's really one major artifact there, which is an old hope chest. It's got some prominent statements in it, so we know it goes back to around 1840. It was for Anna Barbara Ogsbury, who married Thomas Mesick in 1843, and that is, of course, the old Mesick house. Was refurbished back in 1969, so it's really in very nice shape. And I think it would make a nice demonstration piece for town hall. Put together some information about the Mesicks, the family, and but it would be a nice little demonstration piece to put in town hall for a while. Although I think in the long term, and I told Joel this, I think in the long term, it's probably something we would probably want to donate to the Schenectady County Historical Society, which they're probably in a better position to store it and maintain it, if they want it. But it is a very nice piece. A very nice artifact. In addition, there's a lot of documents, some old books that he's found that were inside the hope chest. I sort of perused them, and there could be some interesting information in some of the letters and documents in there. So it's a nice collection of documents with the artifact, which he says he's going to deliver to the town hall one of these days. I think he's going to be looking for you, Laura. So when it comes in, we can just, if it shows up, you put it down in the basement or put it somewhere, and we'll go through it in more detail. But that's that. That's that. So we'll be happy to have. I think it'd be a nice piece to have and, like I say, put on display once we are able to get people back into town hall to look at.
Thanks, Dennis. I'm glad you were able to get out there.
Yeah.
I believe that's it. Does anybody have anything that wasn't on the agenda that they want to speak about? So I have, our next meeting is December 4th. I think it says location to be determined, but as long as all is well with you guys, I would do this virtually, just as we discussed at the beginning of the meeting. So I'll send you guys all out links, and I appreciate you guys all attending in the, awesome snowy weather this morning.
I make a motion to adjourn, Laura?
Yes, please. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and we are adjourned at 9:34. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay, bye now.